This meeting of the Starkville Board of Aldermen will now come to order. Please rise for the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance, after which Alderman Vaughn would like to open us in a word of prayer, and we will observe a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our great God, most holy, all wise, all knowing, all powerful, all seeing, all hearing, all understanding God. The God that sit high and look low, heaven is thy seat, and earth is thy footstool. God, again, here's the mayor and the board to come before you again. Not coming for no shape, form, or fashion, nor outside show to the world. We come before you again, Father God, for guidance and directions. Again, we ask you to please guide and direct our hearts and our minds with these decisions that is before us. Lord, that every decision that we make, it will look to your Son on the cross. We ask you to forgive us of all our sins, strengthen us where we're weak, and build us up where we're torn down. Praying that you will direct our throats, you direct our hearts. Most of all, Lord, you will take our hands, because you said the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Take our hands, Father God, and order these steps of ours, that we will step towards heaven. Father, we pray now that you will let the words of our mouth and the meditation of our heart be accepted in thy sight, our strength and our Redeemer. Oh, Father God, is in the name of Jesus, Satan, we rebuke you from this place. No weapon formed against us shall prosper. God, we know that you is a God that is able to do all things but fail. We ask you now, Father, be in the midst of us. Fill this place with your spirit, but most of all, fill your spirit in our heart. We give you praise, we give you glory and honor, because you is our great God. You're the God that sit high and look low. You is our God, and we are your servant. You is our Father, and we are the children. We give you praise and honor because of who you are and what you are. Oh, Father God, is in Jesus' name that we do pray. Amen.
You have before you a copy of the written agenda. Are there any proposed changes to the agenda as written?
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
I'd like to request that we move item 10B under board business to directly under item number 4, approval of Alderman minutes.
All right, the proposed revision from Alderman Maynard is to move what is currently item 10B, a discussion and consideration for cornerstone plaque to be located on the exterior of the new municipal complex to only contain the names of the mayor and board of aldermen serving in the 2013 to 2017 term, to a second item under Roman numeral 4 of the agenda. Alderman Maynard, is that your proposed revision?
It is, yes, sir.
Do I hear any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none. Alderman Maynard, do you have further proposed revisions?
No, sir.
Are there any further proposed revisions from the members of the board? Alderman Carver?
I guess I was going to ask Alderman Maynard. I originally supported, if we could try to, I was against putting things on the consent agenda to start, but tonight I've got to go to a matter at 7 o'clock with my son's school, and if we could, I know about probably, 2.5 months ago, we started requiring that all department heads put things on the agenda by Friday, the 5 p.m., the meeting, the Friday before our meetings, and they've done a really good job of that. I think the purpose has been well served with that, and if we could, I'd like to start placing a couple things on consent agenda just for housekeeping, and especially tonight, either way, I'm going to have to go, but I know there's some important things I'd like to get on here before I have to leave. So, with that, I think Alderman Maynard had said he might put 1 or 2 just general business matters on consent.
Mayor, may I recognize?
You may.
I object consent tonight.
All right, any further proposed revisions to the agenda? Any further, City Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, in Electric Department, item B, number 4, which is the proposed agreement with Verizon for mobile-to-mobile service. Mr. Kemp and I were talking today, and there may be a way to do that and not have to enter into this separate contract. So I would recommend that come off the agenda so long as Mr. Kemp concurs.
The recommendation from the city attorney is to strike item 11D4 from the agenda. Do I hear a recommendation from, or do I hear a proposed revision from the board?
Say move.
All right, proposed revision has been made by Alderman Carver. Is there any objection? Any objections? Seeing none, that matter's been stricken from the agenda. Are there any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions? Any further proposed revisions? Seeing none, a motion to approve the agenda is revised is in order.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve the agenda as revised. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter that you have before you is the consideration of the November 18th minutes.
Say move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Carver to approve of the minutes from November 18, 2014 of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen of the City of Starkville, Mississippi, as reviewed by the city attorney and otherwise as presented. Alderman Carver, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Carver, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter that you have before you is a discussion and consideration for the Cornerstone plat to be located on the exterior of the new municipal complex and to only contain the names of the mayor and board of aldermen serving during the 2013 to 2017 term. Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. The new municipal complex is approximately 60 to 70% complete according to our CAO Tyler Adams. Since it is near completion, I just want to do some basic housekeeping because in keeping precedence what other boards have done, they've designated a cornerstone for that. Tonight I have a motion that I will be making to go ahead and address this need for that so that we can go ahead and get this information submitted to them. Move that the names of the Starkville Mayor and Board of Aldermen serving in the current term of 2013 to 2017 be engraved and preserved on the cornerstone of the new municipal building.
Motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen motion has been made to approve the mayor and board of aldermen serving. All right. The motion has been made that the names of Starkville's mayor and board of aldermen serving during the current term of 2013 to 2017 be engraved and preserved on the cornerstone of the new municipal building. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Perkins. Alderman Nguyen, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, I do not.
All right, let me speak to this for just a second. This is something that I have had some experience with, and this is not something that there is a strict protocol for. As a matter of fact, in two construction projects that have been completed previously, the way this process has worked is it has come to me as the mayor and supervisor of day-to-day construction to assign the names on the plaque for two buildings that have been completed. And actually, during the last term, we have an example of a sitting board being put on a plaque and a previous board being put on a plaque. The rule of thumb that I use is this is a historical marker, and the most important thing for the marker to do is to recognize the history of the project and how that building came to be there. The first project I inherited as mayor during the last term was the electric building, the new electric department headquarters. And that was a project that the 2009 to 2013 board oversaw construction for about a year, but it was a project that board inherited. Bonds had been approved as well as designs and a contractor and an architect by the previous Board of Aldermen. So it was pretty clear to me in that case that the plaque on the building needed to reflect the board from the 2005 to 2009 term. Now, the second project that I dealt with was the Fire Station number 5 project. This one was a little bit more difficult. because the Fire Station Number 5 project was a grant project, and it was the 2005 to 2009 board that had gotten the grant to build that fire station. But that is all of the involvement that the 2005 to 2009 board had, and in fact, it was the 2009 to 2013 board that had then been responsible for design, selecting a construction company to do the project, and then overseeing the full term of construction. So in that case, the 2009 to 2013 board went on the plaque. We actually were right at the point where I was going to have to order the plaque for this building. And this project falls even more squarely between two board terms than the Fire Station 5 project. For that reason, I had decided that this project would bear the name of the 2009 to 2013 board and the 2013 to 2017 board. In addition to that, this project, because of its nature as a public-private partnership, also needs to bear the names of the board members of the Golden Triangle Public Buildings Corporation, who is leasing the project to the city for a period of 20 years. So, absent a board order, that's how I would have dealt with this project. And I believe it would accurately reflect the history of this project, because in this case, you have the 2009 to 2013 board, which approved the design, the architect, construction company, and the financing of the project, of course, along with the Golden Triangle Public Buildings Corporation. But then in this case, the 2013 to 2017 board inherited the construction project at a very, very early stage and will have overseen almost the entirety of the construction project. That needs to be recognized as well. So in my mind, it's clear and easy to put the names of those three boards on it, and it will accurately reflect the history of the project if we do so. Further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm ready for a roll call. You can start it with me.
Mayor,
Further discussion? Alderman Maynard.
Mayor, I agree with you. I think because this board, the 2009, 2013 board has a lot of ownership of this project. They were the architects of the project and putting the project together, and they saw the project through all of the controversy of the project, through all of the discourse back and forth, right or wrong, for them or against them. I think that board needs to be recognized, and if this board is not willing to include a friendly amendment to put them all on one plaque, I would certainly offer a friendly amendment to have a plaque that recognizes those members of the 2009 through 2013 board be placed in that building as well.
I'm going to reject that. You can do that separately. Mr. Mayor, I'm ready for a vote.
Alderman Maynard, do you wish to make that as a motion, or do you wish to let it lie for now?
I would make the motion that we include in the new municipal building a plaque that notes this building was approved January 5th, 2012 by the mayor and the board. It served during the 2009 through 2013 term, and that those members included and have the members, the mayor and the members of the Board of Aldermen and their wards displayed.
Do you have that reduced to writing?
I do.
All right, motion has been made to amend the main motion. And let me see that, because I'm gonna have to blend these together with the proposed amendment. So the motion would stand at a motion that the names of the Starkville Mayor and Board of Aldermen serving in the current term of 2013 to 2017 be engraved and preserved on the cornerstone of the new municipal building, and that a plaque be placed at the architect's discretion in the building, noting that this project was approved on June 5th, 2012 by the Mayor and Board of Aldermen that served during the 2009 to 2013 term, and those members included Mayor Parker Wiseman, Alderman Ben Carver, Alderman Sandra Sistrunk, Alderman Eric Parker, Alderman Richard Corey, Alderman Jeremiah Dumas, Alderman Roy A. Perkins, and Alderman Henry Vaughn. Alderman Manners, is that your proposed amendment?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Further discussion? All right, and let me, actually have something clarified as well, because I'm gonna be the one that's charged with carrying out this order. Where precisely is the cornerstone of the new building, and what does that mean? Ordinarily, the way this would work is there would be a plaque in the lobby of the building, and if it's to be the cornerstone of the building, that's not something I necessarily take issue with, but I'm going to have to tell the architect and the construction company where they are to put the plaque, and I want to make sure we all understand what that is. Alderman Little.
Is it on the architect's design plan as far as specifications as to where it should be?
I don't think he has anything specified in terms of placement. I can tell you, in having conversations with the architect, where it probably would have been placed is in the lobby of the building as you walk in the front entrance.
I would be inclined to put it in the lobby. I wouldn't want it somewhere that would take away from the appearance of the aesthetics of the building. And I would probably defer that to the architect.
So,
That's just my opinion.
all right, so what I need, if we want to make that at the architect's discretion as well, that's fine, or I need some clarification as to what cornerstone means. Because
Bobby.
I want to make sure I know how to direct it.
Lobby.
We can do it interior.
Okay. Could somebody amend the motion, just to make both of them at the architect's discretion?
So moved.
All right, motion has been made I'll tell you what, Alderman Manor, will you take this as a friendly, so we don't have to do an amendment to an amendment of the
Sure, yes,
motion?
sir.
All right, so the proposed friendly amendment to your amendment, Alderman Maynard, is to make the motion stand at a motion that the names of the Starkville Mayor and Board of Aldermen serving during the term of 2013 to 2017 be engraved and preserved at the architect's discretion in the new municipal building, and that a plaque be placed at the architect's discretion noting that this project was approved on June 5th, 2012 by the mayor and board that served during the 2009 to 2013 term. Those members included Mayor Parker Wiseman, Alderman Ben Carver, Alderman Sandra Sistrunk, Alderman Eric Parker, Alderman Richard Corey, Alderman Jeremiah Dumas, Alderman Roy A. Perkins, and Alderman Henry Vaughn. Alderman Maynard, do you accept that friendly amendment?
Yes, sir.
Without objection? Seeing no objection, that is the subject of the amendment that you are now discussing. Any further discussion on the amendment? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of the amendment, I guess we'll do it by roll call. Please respond by saying yea, nay, or abstain as the city clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carver.
No.
Alderman Nguyen.
Nay.
Alderman Little.
Yay.
Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Nay.
Alderman Bond.
Nay.
All right, by a vote of 3 in favor with 4 against, this measure fails. So we'll go back into discussion on the main motion, which stands at a motion that the names of Starkville's mayor and board of aldermen serving during the current term of 2013 to 2017 be engraved and preserved on the cornerstone of the new municipal building. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please respond by saying yay, nay, or abstain as the city clerk calls your name.
Alderman Carter.
Yay.
Alderman Wynn.
Yay.
Alderman Little.
Nay.
Alderman Walker.
Nay.
Alderman Maynard.
Nay.
Vice Mayor Perkins.
Yay.
Alderman Bond.
Yay.
By a vote of 4 in favor with 3 against, this measure passes. The next matter on the agenda is comments by the mayor and the members of the board. And I have just one comment for you this evening, and that is I would like to remind you all that tomorrow morning, starting at 8 o'clock, Travis Outlaw will be giving away 600 turkeys. First come, first serve. Many of our police officers will be out helping to pass out turkeys, as well I and members of the board. And this is something that Travis does completely at his own expense. So we are incredibly grateful for how Travis continues to give back to the community, and we invite you to all come out and get a Christmas turkey. Do we have any comments by the members of the board? Alderman Wynn.
First of all, I want to say we need to say a big happy birthday to one of our board members. He could not think of any other place that he'd rather be tonight besides being with us, and that is the gentleman from Ward 7, Alderman Henry Nash Bond. Happy birthday to you. Then I want to say thanks so much to our CAO. When we arrived this evening, we have our new little identification card. So there was a nice gesture from him. CAO, will you come forward and tell us a little bit about this?
I will, Alderman, thank you for that. And actually, those are not from me so much as those are from our entire staff. We've grown to the point where I think it makes sense for our employees to have the ability to identify themselves. What we have is, after conferring with several members of our staff, most notably Mr. Clement's staff, who'll be producing these cards, we are rolling out the first, I guess, issue of those to you all, and so they will work as government ID and get you all of the privileges those afford you when you travel and around town for other things. But more importantly, clearly identifies you as one of our own, and will identify all of our employees in the same way. So thank you for the recognition.
Thank you so much.
Also, I didn't know if this coincides with the new city hall, but there's a barcode on that. Is there gonna be scanners up there like this? Will this be our key, or?
Not initially, but certainly as we continue to grow, the barcode's a great place to start. We hope to get to a magnetic key swipe at some point for certain parts of that building, but this is a move in that direction, Alderman. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Mr. Mayor, one more. I want to recognize the men and women that serve our city so well in the blue. They have a presence in our room. Good evening, members of the Starkville Police Department. Thank you for joining us tonight. And one more, Mr. Mayor, and I'm going to turn the floor. Is Mr. Devlin in? Mr. Devlin, will you please stand? On last Sunday morning, I waited until about 10 minutes after 8 to call your home because one of my constituents called me a little bit after 5:30 and he didn't have water. So I just wanted to let you sleep in and report it to 311. And I think it was Ellis Agnew that was dispatched out there. And I want to thank you so much for being kind to me when I called you at that time of morning and keeping me abreast as to what was going on. And thank you so much for you all resolving that problem. And tell Ellis I said thanks so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Mr. Mayor, I yield the floor at this time.
Any further comments by the members of the board? Alderman
First of all,
Carter.
my birthday was the last board meeting. I'm joking. But second of all, I just wanted to touch again on Travis Outlaw and Marquita Outlaw, former city employee doing this, and I think the record last year was about 22 minutes.
We quit.
And everybody came out, and it's a great thing. And, you know, oftentimes somebody elevates to the status that Travis has, they don't give back to the community. But, I mean, we as a community need to embrace him and the family and what they've done and given back to, and the donations they've made to the Sportsplex. And I know we spoke about that once, but I did want to mention and thank Travis and the Outlaw family for all that they do for the city of Starkville.
Further comments by the members of the board? Any further comments by the members of the board? Are there any further comments? Seeing none, we'll now hear citizen comments. At this time, any citizen wishing to make comments may do so by coming forward, introducing yourself, and you'll be recognized to speak for a maximum of 3 minutes.
Greeting to the mayor and board. My name is Adam Tom Ward 7. This almost the end of the year. We have come a long way, but the last couple months have been frightening. We thought that we had did away with the Jim Crow law with Beverly, but it seems like that it's making its way back. For some things, for some, for others, it's not. That we would like to bury that because we have an issue now that is a lot of hatred, strife, and it is affecting a lot. We need our police officers, but to turn on them, it's not good. They tried to help us. We should have respect. I wouldn't want to wind up someone trying to burn down stuff. Seems like that we got enough of governors, enough of ministers, enough of mayors to send a strong message. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're right, you're right. Nothing gonna stand up for what's right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
I'm Milo Burnham from Ward 2. When there's not a public hearing for a subject that's coming before the board, the only opportunity the public has to offer a comment is during citizens' comments. And when the board jerks the agenda around like you just did tonight with that item on the cornerstone, you deny me an opportunity to make comments because you jerked it around. And you've done this before on other items where you don't want to hear from the public. You jerk the agenda around and you put those items before citizens' comments. I don't like it. It's not right. I think you need to stop it. Second item I'd like to bring up is also on the board agenda, and that's accepting the resignation of Dan Moreland from the Park Commission. I want to encourage you to do that, and I would encourage you to take the time now that you have the opportunity to rework the park situation within this city, to bring the parks under the control of the administration and financially for city government, in that it's no longer independent. Do away with the Park Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnham. Further citizen comments?
How you doing? My name's Jesse Carter. I'm out in Ward 6, Perkins Alderman, and I've been here 6 years and 3 months for 1 ounce, and I ain't got that answer today. And it's about property interest to where my resident located at, and have a lot of confusion out there since it's been the 6 years that's been going on. And I've been here, this is like my 3rd trip here. And I came here last August. I came here in August, and I asked for an answer from the board to determine where's my resident located at, because I have a problem. I don't have no city service. They used to pick up my garbage. Like I said, I was annexed into the city back in 1998. By the annex paper that I have in this file here, and by a private company that came out and surveyed that road and did the documentation and marked where the annex stopped it at. they got it marked today, and my house is within the city limit. And it also come from the Attorney General office in Jackson, Mississippi. Also, from the U.S. Justice Department in Washington, D.C. And all I asked for was 1 ounce. Where's my resident at? And Mr. Buddy Sandler, he came out to my residence. Well, I don't like the part he came out to my residence. He didn't consult me. He talked to my child. He don't have no reason to talk to him for nothing. He should have talked to me. When I came to him, the only thing he could tell me, same thing I've been having for the last 6 years and 3 months. But at the same time, to me, he lost like a June bug without a spring, or he gonna send me to somebody else. And I've been sent to everybody else. I've been going through this town for 6 years for 1 ounce in 3 months, and then I don't take that long. Cause with the documentation that I brought to this board, last meeting I had, it clearly indicated that I'm in the city of Starkville. I'm in the city of Starkville. Like I said, I was annexing to the city of Starkville. Can I get an answer? I ask you, Mayor, can I get an answer? I need a written statement to indicate where am I. That's all I ask for.
Sure. And Mr. Sanders,
Yes, sir.
oh, you're right.
You're right.
You did investigate that matter thoroughly. Was a written response filed with Mr. Collier?
Yeah, it was sent to the city attorney, or the findings were sent to the city attorney for it to be given to the resident.
Well,
It's
Mr.
been
Collier,
3 months. It's been 3 months.
Mr. Collier, I do apologize. You
been
should have
through-
received written notice by now, and you have my word that you will receive it by the end of the week.
Okay, well, Alderman Perkins, he just sent me one in the mail this week, and I thank you. He been with me for 6 years on it, and you know, and really, I'm gonna be honest, I'm an open man. What happened in the whole situation, in the moral of the story, it was just a cover up. When the Starkville School District came out and withdrew my kids out of Starkville Public School for a whole year, Miss Pruitt, Lynn, they came out to my residence and said I was in the county. But I was annexed into the city back in 1998. Either somebody found the false documentation, but here it is in black and white right here.
So, Mr. Collier, did the writing you received from Vice Mayor Perkins include the full body?
No, he just said that, you know, we were glad to come to help me with this project, you know, help me with this him. And, you know, trying to get this matter solved.
Well, Mr. Collier, I will see to it that by the end of this week,
I hope
the full documentation of Mr. Sanders' investigation will be mailed to you. You may not receive it by Friday, but it will leave City Hall by Friday.
Well, all I want to answer, it can be yea or nay. I just want to answer.
Thank you, Mr.
I can
Collier.
take it from there. Thank you.
Further citizen comment?
Mr. Mayor, I got one question. Mr. Collier, when they bring you there, will you bring those documents that you got from the Attorney General and elsewhere to the mayor, let him see those documents?
So documentation from the Attorney General?
Yes, when you
Oh, I
bring,
have it now.
when you come back.
We have all that, don't we?
You got it?
No, I didn't give y'all no file there. I'm hoping that we can solve this out. Y'all receiving, giving this paper to y'all. Cause I assume, if I'm right, you don't need this. We don't need this till we get the offer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I'm wrong, prove me wrong with offer. Thank y'all.
Hey,
Thank you,
excuse me,
Mr. Collier.
Excuse me, sir. Sir. For all this time, have you been paying city taxes?
Well, when you did the annexation back in 1998, the taxes, the only way you got taxed to us is through our tag of our vehicle. That's municipal. I think municipal means city of Starkville.
Well, I understand your
Okay.
vehicle tax.
Okay, I'm gonna get your point to you. Municipal is the city of Starkville. Separated school district is Starkville School District, which that's tax district 221. Tax district 201 is the city of Starkville, and you get counted through my tag. Okay, you got through my garbage bill. Okay, but when y'all did the annexation, we never had to pay taxes like on my land because the land is tax exempt. The name who land is, he 80 years old. That's my uncle. And that's tax exempt, so that really don't even involve nobody there on that issue no way because why you gonna change a man that ain't got to pay tax? all you want is your money through where you supposed to get my money from, and I paid them taxes. I used to get a garbage there. They used to come pick up my garbage. Nobody pick up my garbage no more. I had to haul my own garbage off.
Thank you. We'll get your response by the end of the week.
Well, I hope so.
Thank you, Mr. Collier.
Thank you.
Further citizen comments? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kendra Colbert, and I came tonight representing Starkville's Mayor's Youth Council. We have a few members here tonight in the audience, and we just wanted to let you know where we are in the year. Our year has just started, and we have recently donated to an angel tree, and the family was quite pleased with that. We are also planning some tutoring for younger students and a clothes drive.
Well, thank you very much for the update.
It's
And
not a
y'all-
lot to understand, the members.
Could the other members of the Mayor's Youth Council that are with us tonight stand? Yeah. Thank you very much. Any further citizen comments?
Sandra Sistrunk, Ward 2. I've come tonight just to tell y'all that when it's time for y'all to discuss the purchase of the Cadence building, I want you to know that some of us think it's a bad idea because you have less expensive solutions for providing the police a good home, and because you're going to need every dollar available to you for other projects that impact our city's long-term future, particularly things involving economic development and annexation, the thing that could change our city more than anything else y'all will do as a board. Y'all have made a commitment to the link. Innovation Park bonds aren't funded yet, so that's something that y'all have coming up that you're gonna need money for. At some point, hopefully Mr. Higgins is gonna be back and he's gonna ask y'all to fund a building. That's money that you're gonna need. You're talking about annexation. Cost for annexation could easily reach $2 million between debt service for financing the infrastructure that's needed out there in the areas that will be annexed, and for the ongoing operational needs of annexation. Police, fire, streets, those things that cost a lot of money and are never covered by property taxes. For every $100 million that you annex in property value, you're gonna collect about $250,000 to $300,000 in property taxes. You can't get to $2 million at that sort of rate. If you annexed all the businesses in the county that are paying sales taxes to currently that aren't part of Starkville, MSU, Sturgis, Mabin, you're talking, if you annex the entire county, you're talking about roughly $1 million. Annexation won't pay for itself. Y'all are gonna have to find some other ways to finance that, and I think that's important. Purchasing the Cadence building just makes that much harder. You could invest in this building or some other solution, but you can come up with something that honors the police and gives them the facilities and the space that they need, but doesn't jeopardize some of these other things that are important that y'all are gonna be dealing with over the next 2.5 years.
Thank you, Alderman Sistrunk. Further citizen comments?
I would say ditto, sorry, Lynn Sproul, Ward 3, I would say ditto to Ms. Sistrunk, but I will go a little further than that, because I think all these gentlemen lined up here on the wall, if you said you want a building or you want a pay raise, I think they'd probably opt for a pay raise, and I think if y'all spend the money that you're gonna spend on a building that you don't currently have, when you have a building here that can be renovated to fit their needs, I think you're wasting a lot of money. And there are a lot of opportunity costs that include employee pay raises, which ought to be first on your list for next year, as well as annexation, as well as the link funds, as well as the link building, which will come up. All those things ought to be things that are considered ahead of a building that doesn't serve the purpose. And it won't serve the purpose without an additional $500,000 or $1 million to make it work as a police building. So, item one. The other thing is, Mayor, I would urge you to veto that motion that the board, or the that last board item. And as I recall, there was a board order in place that allowed you to take care of all the matters associated with that building and its construction. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Further citizen comments? Any further citizen comments? Are there any further citizen comments? Seeing none, the next matter on your agenda is board business. And the first matter for your discussion and consideration is the acquiring of the Cadence Bank property at 301 East Main Street. Alderman Maynard? Thank you.
Certainly appreciate the comments, Ms. Rule and Ms. Sistrunk. I think there are two ways of looking at this building. See, ladies and gentlemen on the back, I think we have to ask ourselves, I have to ask myself, do we want to invest money right now, $1.3 million set aside, into a building that only appraised for $800,000? Or would we be better off spending that same money plus a little additional money and investing in a building that appraised for $3.15 million? And what is going to serve these men in uniform the best over the long term? I personally don't want to invest money in this building. I think it's good money chasing bad. This building has a lot of age on it. It has a lot of issues. I don't think 1.3 million would touch this building from a renovation standpoint personally. I think it's going to require in the long run a lot more than that. Vice Mayor Perkins has been on this board a lot longer than I have, but I've lived in Starkville since 1971, and I've seen 4, 5 proposals for police departments come and go. Opportunities that got defeated soundly, opportunities that failed by a couple of votes, opportunities for free space that was turned down, opportunities for virtually an interest-free loan that was turned down. I think it's important that we spend the taxpayers' money wisely, but I also think it's important that we invest for the future as well as the current needs. We came before this group and spoke as a board roughly 3 months ago and tasked the CAO to do some due diligence on finding some renovation costs, finding out the condition of that building, getting appraisals on this building, getting appraisals on a vacant lagoon piece of property that we have an opportunity to potentially sell, looking at utility cost. And so I'd ask Mr. Adams to come forward. First of all, Mr. Adams, on the building inspections we had done on the Cadence property, what did we find?
We found that in general, the building is in good condition. There is, as it relates to mechanically, the building was sound. We found 2 issues that I guess required further inspection. One was the roof. There is adequate life, we believe, to get through at least 5 years. But we have solicited we are in the process of soliciting firm quotes for what a replacement of a roof roughly 5 years in might cost the city. We have
I actually have that quote here.
Yes, sir.
I just received from Mr. Sanders right before we walked in the door.
That's right. And the thing that we're costing, there are two methods that are listed there. One would be the traditional, just a full replacement of the roof. That is the higher number there. The lower number is a newer, it is a sort of utilizing a newer technology, a newer method, which cuts that cost in about half. We've requested some information on where else that's been done in the area to confirm that it will deliver the guaranteed 20 years that it promises, but in the event that that happens, that we believe that we can stand behind the lower number for replacement of that roof. The other issue that we found related to some settling on the building as it relates to the retaining wall. I guess it would be on the southeastern edge of the parking lot. There's you can see there's a place where the retaining wall has suffered some damage. We had Pritchard Engineering have a look at that. Mr. Pritchard assures us that this is not a major concern, that the building's not going to fall down, that the parking lot will continue to operate. But as it relates to remedies for that, he's exploring that further. And to that, basically, they've just got to take a couple of they've got to take a couple of more samples to determine a plan. We've asked him to begin to basically get us a quote on what that plan would cost. He believes it'll cost $4,000 or less to fully vet that and produce a plan to the city that we could take to a contractor to cost out correcting that solution. But he assures us that it's not it is not an issue that will cause a failure anytime soon. So we're comfortable saying that the building is in good condition, particularly given its age.
Let's talk about renovation cost as well. That's been a big topic, and a lot of big numbers have been thrown around. If we chose to move the city courts to that building, if we acquired it, what would the renovation cost be?
According to the estimates that were given to us by the project engineer, that we're basically looking at a low seven-figure sum, Alderman. We've not cost any of those numbers for the contractor yet, but to put court in per the schedule that was outlined by our architect is we know it to be at least a seven-figure number.
Seven-figure, probably somewhere between 1 and 2.5 million.
That's right. I would say something south of 3 million, but more than 1.5.
If we chose to just allow courts to go into the space currently being constructed in the new City Hall complex and just moving police into that building, what's the estimate of renovation cost?
Well, according to our architect, that's a zero-cost solution. The reason for that is that the courts are already programmed into the City Hall that's under construction now. They are in that schedule. That space is being built out at present, and so it would be moving them in there. And so, again, these are not giving my numbers. Obviously, these have been presented to the city by the architect of record on this project, and he represents that is a zero-cost solution.
Looking ahead at some scenarios, if we were to acquire the Cadence building and if the bank was interested in maintaining the first floor and leasing that space, do we have any idea what the renovation cost would be to get set up for that?
Well, that is a slight change in the Phase 1 program that we've seen from our architect, as it is believed that police would need some first floor space. I would have to get with the chief specifically to see if they could operate on just the upper two floors right out of the gate. But in the event that they could operate in the top two floors as they're drawn, again, I would not see any cost in that move. Chief, and excuse me, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask the chief, do you see anything there?
Excuse me, what's the question again?
Basically, if the bank were to maintain presence on the ground floor as it currently is, could you operate in the top 2 floors in the short term with no renovation costs?
No, sir.
Okay.
What would you see as renovation needs at that point, Chief?
The way we look at it is, the way we want to put the booking room area, we would have to put some more walls up, because currently it's glass. And that's a safety hazard, so,
Replacing some glass walls with some.
yes, sir. That's just for the second floor.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Any other additional?
Well, if we just gonna occupy the second and third floor, there's no room for growth for us.
Right, in a temporary situation.
In a temporary situation, yes, sir. We can use that, second and third floor.
And you don't see any additional significant renovation costs?
Well, there is renovation cost because we gotta have communications.
Right.
We gotta move our dispatch center.
Okay.
So we're gonna have money for that, you know, for all the connections and everything they need, you know, so there will be cost.
Mr. Adams, do we have any figures at all on that?
Well, we don't, but the good news is, Chief, we own the dispatch equipment already, and and it's a matter of wiring in, which you would need over there. And as it relates to wiring, we're talking about also given that the wiring in that building is better than the wiring in this building, and it's already completely wired telephonically for communications equipment with Ethernet and things of that nature. I don't foresee that to be a large expense, but we would have to cost that for you before we could speak definitively. But, I mean, but Joel, if we're talking about running cable, we're talking about a relatively small expenditure, right?
Sure, in the grand scheme of the cost of the building, there probably will be some additional drops required, that drops.
And the drops, what, $100 a piece?
About $100.
So, and Chief, you would probably need, what, 20 drops at most additional?
Yes, sir, I would assume that.
And so 20 drops at a piece.
Additionally, on the first floor, we'll definitely need that vault area, because it's in the center of the bank. It's perfect for, where we keep all our weapons and everything. And so we would definitely need that. We need some kind of wall to keep the public away from that.
I'd like to ask kind of a twofold question. If y'all were to operate mainly out of the second and third floor, the majority of what you got to do, have there been any cost associated with what the chief was referring to as what he would need to complete that? I mean, how much we're trying to figure out a way to generate revenue from the first floor tenant. I guess the police force can still enter everything from the rear of the building. And that's maybe a threefold question. And in that, have there been any talks with the bank of them occupying and what time length they would stay on the first floor?
The bank does want to maintain a permanent presence or I'll say permanent, but a longer term presence in the drive-through. But what I understood Alderman Maynard's question to be was maybe a blended use while the bank made alternate means in the short term. Is that sort of where you were going with that, or were you talking about a more long-term presence as well?
Right, we're just trying to define what the bank needs and what the chief needs, and what's gonna be the cost of getting to that point.
Sure, and as it relates, we have the solution that we have from our architect speaks to the bank maintaining a presence in the drive-through. We have not had discussions on our end related to the bank maintaining a larger presence in the building. Everything that we have on our end refers to them just maintaining the drive-through space.
Can I speak on that? I would see it as being a security risk if we had somebody occupy that first floor. I want to go on record saying that. You know, if we can't have the entire building, with the exception of the drive-through, then we hadn't looked at the security issues of having somebody else downstairs in the police department. You know, and I'm not for that.
With the exception of the drive.
With the exception of the drive-through.
Thank you, Chief.
There be any revenue income from the bank operating just in the drive-through? Small?
Yes, we anticipate rental income from the drive-through.
Worst case scenario, we're just trying to figure out cost here. What is the highest renovation cost you can imagine if the police entirely goes into that building?
And
either way, anyway, what's the highest?
Well, and you know, the number that we have from our architect is zero on the front end, but we understand that really is speaking to to a phased implementation of a larger project. And to speak to how that would happen, that's really, I mean, that would be something that we would have to bring to this board for consideration at that point. Because that could be a multiple phase project and construction costs are variable and things that would, but what I have heard from our architect and what I've heard from police is that they can take it as it is on day one. Chief, is that accurate? With the minor changes you mentioned related to,
Yes, sir.
the
We can
booking
take,
room.
we can take it from day one and be just as secure in this building as we are now in that building. But of course, we want to be more secure. But we can take it from day one.
But I'm gonna say this, and I know how the game works, I don't believe that. I mean, give me what's the highest figure, and let's work down from there.
I mean, I think you'll probably end up over time, and time becomes variable. Is it, and it's really I mean, this is a policy decision that I really, I mean, so time could be 10 years, 20 years, 50 years. I mean, if it becomes the police station, we anticipate that it will become a public asset that we own perpetually. So as it relates to that program, I mean, it can be, at that point, renovation can be as much as you want to spend. I think the numbers that we have seen for phase one, and I don't have that proposal in front of me, but Chief, I believe that we're probably talking about over time to get it from where it is now to something approaching what you all would want, giving, and this is also adjusting for the Chief's growth model as he hopes to have the opportunity to expand his force as the city grows. I think you're probably looking at sometime over a 15 to 20 year program, somewhere in the neighborhood of another $500,000, maybe $750,000. But again, that's over 20 years, and I don't know that I can. Obviously, that's a decision that the elected body at that time would have to make. So it's.
And there's not a final report that has been prepared by the architect.
Right.
We have seen some preliminary scenarios from the architect, and the architect and the chief are working with our feedback to provide a more final report.
And from a policy, can I have the floor? From a policymaker, I'm gonna say I've got a lot of good friends in here that are policemen, and I'm gonna say this, as a businessman, we've gotta find a way to make it work. And I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I can't vote for it, you know, and the reason, if, I may not be here when the vote comes, but I just got a one-page document tonight, so I don't feel comfortable at all. I don't know where y'all are going with this tonight, but I don't feel comfortable voting at all with no financing. You know, throwing $200,000 or $300,000 around here and there is, I wouldn't do my personal checkbook that way. But, and I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I just want to see when it comes time to vote next meeting or 2 months from now, I want to see some real hard numbers. And if you're going to start talking about selling this building or selling the lagoon, is, you know, the way I would do a mortgage is, you know, I'm not going to buy a house until contingent I sell the house I have now. I can't afford 2 mortgages, you know, so that's what I would feel as a safe vote on my part would be knowing that, you know, we've got to recoup some of those dollars before we start spending, and then get some very, very hard phase one, if that's what y'all want to call them, phase two numbers. You know, when you get serious about the taxpayer dollars, you can't throw, because the lagoon figures have changed, this building figures have changed in the last 2 months. That's just what it would take to convince me.
Alderman Walker.
I agree with Alderman Carver. Reading the thing tonight, we had one page, and it didn't have any information other than we're likely, how I interpret this, is potentially voting to acquire this building tonight. I think we have debated over the number of years, like Alderman Maynard suggested, of how do we find a way for the police to have a new facility. And I am open to the idea of the Cadence building. But I agree, this has to be documented. It can't be nebulous terms, or it might cost this. When you purchase a property, there is going to be renovation costs. And what we need to see is whether we plan on doing it in 20 years, well, let's have a plan. Here's what it costs. Phase one and year number 1 costs this. Phase 2 and year 2 through 5, where we're going to do these projects, cost this. So we have something that's more concrete that we're making decisions on. I think this is a big issue. I think we're talking about serious money. I think we are talking about if we do this, how do we potentially do other things? This issue has to be vetted. And I'm with Alderman Carver. Right now, I want to be open-minded that this might be a potential home for our police, but as of this moment, I am in no way convinced that, based on the information presented, that is doable. I've got to be convinced, and right now, it may cost us $100,000. We may have 20 drops. How many drops do you have? How many are you going to need? Let's know that information so we can make an informed decision. Otherwise, it's just talking about it. When things fail, it's a lot of the times it's because the information isn't presented in a way to make it be successful. If you want to get my vote, show me why I should vote for it. And right now, other than because we want to have a new police station and we haven't been trying to have one for a long time, that's all well and good. But 1.3, have we looked at? Does the 1.3 million, what does that do for the renovation of this building? I'm with Alderman Maynard. I'm a little skeptical in how far that 1.3 million will go for this building and what it will actually do. But I don't know that for sure. What will that $1.3 million do for this building? Versus potential 2.5 to get that new building, of which we have to sell this building, we have no buyer. Of which we have to sell the lagoon site, of which we have no buyer, unless that information is documented again somewhere that I haven't seen. If we move the court over there, another 2.5 million. If we're talking about other renovations, what was the number? Somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 to 2.5. So we're up to $5-7 million for this building. That I need a clearer path forward for how we're going to get there before I'm willing to vote for this. And if we're going down that road tonight, I think it is exceptionally premature.
Alderman Little, then I have Alderman Carver afterwards.
I agree with my colleagues. We have not been provided our due diligence, something hard and fast to look at and study in our packets. And the way I interpret that too, like Alderman Walker mentioned, it looked like we were going to vote on this tonight. And I shook my head when I read that because we haven't been provided the documentation I think that we need to make a good decision, good business decision. And I'll say this to the chief with all due respect, we would like and love to get you guys in a new facility. They've been trying it for years, and you guys are overdue, long overdue. But when Alderman Maynard mentioned a moment ago with just the idea or the concept of a presence being maintained for some short period, I'm 2 years, 3 years, I'm not sure. But I would hope that you would be open to something like that in an effort to help us, help you make this work. Because we don't have enough money right now as it sits to make this work. And that's you may be here, upgrade this facility once it's all said and done. Because we don't have the money to fulfill this obligation at this point. So I would hope you'd be open-minded if we can tweak it and get by with 2 floors. You're getting by with, 6,000 square feet now? And public coming and going on one side of this building, so I'm sure there's some safety issues there. But just be open-minded, if you will, just to help us, help you get to that end result. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Alderman Carver.
Mayor, I was going to ask you, we're starting to talk dollars and cents. I've heard tonight that this was 60-70% complete. Is that project coming in on budget, under budget, and if there's any monies available, do you foresee any money available, and can we use that toward the 1.3?
Very little, if there is any. There's always an opportunity that there could be some efficiencies on the project. Absent a change order, which I don't anticipate a change order, the project's not going to go over budget. So there's a chance that it could come in slightly under budget, but I would not expect anything more than maybe a max of $50,000. And I certainly wouldn't expect $50,000.
Okay. And then I guess my question is to Alderman Maynard, what exactly are we voting on tonight, or what was your prerogative?
I've only got a third of the way down my list of questions so far.
That's fine.
How's your time? You got 15 minutes?
9.
Mr. Taylor, I want to talk about the appraisals of the properties. Cadence Building appraised for $3.15 million.
That's correct.
This building had 2 appraisals done on it. One came in at $800,000, one came in at $900,000.
At 900. That's correct.
So the average of that's $850,000.
That is correct.
And the lagoon appraised for?
we're within $20,000 of the same number on both of those, so that original number that we presented of $20,000 an acre, I believe, holds strong. The second appraisal was $20,000 higher, so we've got one for $20,000 an acre and one for $21,000 an acre.
So the total expected revenue from that, $420,000.
Well, let me clarify that. There's a survey not so much a dispute. We have two surveys in question. We believe it's 28 acres. There's a survey on file that shows it at 22 acres. We're working to clean that up now. We believe it'll be at 28. When that happens, we're closer to 600, which is the number that we originally presented.
So the other issue we do know is that utility cost in the Cadence building will be higher. It's a larger building, larger space. Right now, the average utility cost in this building per month is $3,795. Average in that Cadence building is right at $7,000. It's going to be slightly higher, or about $4,000 higher. Actually, a little less than that, about $3,500 per month higher. The other issues we have to look at is the what-if scenarios. If courts doesn't move, then that's a significant savings on renovation. It also keeps courts where they were and where they're going now. What is the is this current building going to sell? Is the lagoon going to sell? We have to look at those. And I think we have to, as a board, sit down and look at what are the most realistic finance options that are available to us moving forward in the purchase of this building, so that we have all of this information. I would have 4 motions that I would put forth for us to take a look at that. The first being, if this board is willing for us to put this building out for bid with the opportunity to reject any and all bids to see what we can get for this building. The second one would be to put the lagoon out for bid with the opportunity to reject any and all bids, see what we can get for that property. The third would be for the city attorney to work with the bond attorney to verify and get whatever verbiage needed, so that if we choose to use the certificates of participation, that we can use them for the Cadence building, because currently those are designated for this property. And the fourth, I would like to see Alderman Little, Alderman Perkins, and the mayor sit down with the representatives from Cadence and see what is the absolute low number on that building from a cost standpoint, so we know its actual cost. From there, I think we sit back down. I think we address Alderman Walker's questions. What is actual cost? I think we go back and do the due diligence and say, what is the cost to truly renovate this building in the nature that the police department requirements show that? Because I agree with him, I don't think 1.3 is gonna touch this building. Yes, sir.
And I agree with everything you just said, but one thing you didn't touch on with the renovations of the Cadence building, I mean, that's a big number. And phase 1, you may want to throw it 2 years down the road, but I mean, I want to see this project made. So, you know, give me some numbers. If it's 500,000, 750,000, whatever it is, let's put it out there.
And just for clarity, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're actually working with Mr. Schaefer right now to form the phases that the board is talking about. It's just,
Yes, sir.
I mean, that work is in process right now.
Yeah, the architect just started a little more than 30 days ago, so they've actually gotten
a remarkable amount of work accomplished in the time that they've had.
And that's where we are. I mean, we were charged with trying to find this out, and I think now we continue to do that due diligence and put this out there to see. I'm like you, I want to see this project happen, and I think it can happen. I think everybody sitting at this table probably wants to see this project happen. I think all the gentlemen and ladies in the back of the room want to see this project happen. And with the due diligence, I think that's where we need to be. So with that, I guess first I would move that the city attorney be directed to consult with the city bond attorney to draft documentation to allow the remaining balance of the certificates of participation, the $1.3 million, be applied toward the purchase of the Cadence property if the board so chooses. Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Alderman Maynard, I've been in consultation with our bond attorney on that very action pretty much on a weekly basis for the course of the last 3 meetings. He is sitting on go. As soon as the board has an intent to pull the trigger on the Cadence building or get close to that point, he's ready to forward those documents to the city for review. He was actually planning on presenting them in the first meeting of January, so that's in the hopper.
Is there any issues with applying that money toward the purchase should this board choose to do that?
No, not that we know right now from our initial research.
I withdraw that motion. You want to keep that? Okay. Vice Mayor would like to keep this motion on the table.
Would y'all like the documents to come forward on
moved,
a
Mr. Mayor.
specific date?
All right, now, hold on. Alderman Maynard has the floor. Alderman Maynard, are you making a motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, you have reduced it to writing. Can
Yes,
you
sir.
read it for us one more time?
Move the city attorney be directed to consult with a city bond attorney to draft documentation to allow the remaining balance of the certificates of participation, $1.3 million, to be applied toward the purchase of the Cadence property if the board so chooses.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Maynard, can you pass that motion to the city clerk? As it has been reduced to writing, and it is now with the city clerk. I will not ask for it to be reread without objection. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Further discussion?
Mayor, I'd like to offer a friendly amendment that the bond attorney work in conjunction with the city attorney produce those documents to the board for our consideration at the first meeting in January 2015. Friendly amendment.
The friendly amendment is for the bond attorney to make a report at the
For the
first
bond
meeting.
attorney to produce the required documents so that the money can be transferred from the certificate of participation for the purpose that we're trying to accomplish for the Cadence Bank.
All right, Alderman Maynard, the proposed amendment is that the city attorney working in consultation with the bond attorney will have all relevant documents to the transition of the certificates of participation at the first meeting of 2015. Alderman Perkins, is that your proposal?
That is, yes, sir.
Alderman Maynard, do you accept that?
That's fine, yes.
Without objection. All right, seeing no objection, now part of Alderman Maynard's motion is that documents would be presented at the first meeting in January of 2015. All right, and I will just say, while anything is possible, I think it's highly unlikely that we will be in a position to act on those documents at the first meeting in January. I think it would be highly unlikely to get everything wound up that has to be wound up to get you to a decision on this project if it was 2 weeks in the middle of the summer. I think it is beyond highly unlikely that those 2 weeks are the holiday season to think that we'll be back with enough information for you to make a decision in January. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Alderman Maynard.
I'd like to move that the city attorney be drafted to draft documentation to advertise the current city hall building for bid, with the Board of Aldermen having the right to refuse any and all bids. Be advertised accordingly and go out as soon as possible.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Maynard, have you reduced it to writing?
Yes, sir.
It's been read, it's been presented to the city clerk. Without objection, I won't ask for it to be reread. All right, seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
All right, my only questions with respect to this one is, how long do you want it to run, and are you sure you want it to run right now? Again, if we're running it for the next 2 weeks to a month, much of the time we would be wanting people to see the advertisement and hopefully submit a bid. Would be during the deadest time of the year,
It's gonna
and
have
it
to
is
run
consequential.
for
if
at
we-
least 30 days
Yep. Okay.
to get it advertised out effectively.
All right, so if we started it at the end of this week, you've got a run period that would run through.
We started January 1st.
Okay.
I mean, nobody's gonna be looking.
I think January 1st is a much better time than this week to start it. And,
That gives city staff time to prepare it, get it out there.
and city attorney, there's nothing that keeps us from soliciting bids once that is advertised.
That's correct.
Okay. Further discussion? Any further discussion? Any?
So is
Alderman
the
Walker?
amendments changed to read to be from January, the month of January?
30 days?
Yeah, unless, it doesn't specify a time, unless a board order is entered, otherwise, I will start it January 1st. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
Third motion for city attorney to be directed to draft to advertise the city lagoon. And I have a space to insert whatever the documentation on the deed for that piece of property is.
Sir, we have a parcel number.
Right. For bid, with the Board of Aldermen having the right to refuse any and all bids beginning January 1st and running for 30 days.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard. It's been read to writing. It has been submitted to the city clerk without objection. I will not ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Discussion. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
And the last motion I have, moving toward this, is move that the Mayor Wiseman, Vice Mayor Perkins, and Alderman Davis negotiate a contract with Cadence Bank in the amount not to exceed $2.55 million, which is what was there before, for the fee simple and unencumbered purchase of the building, Cadence Bank building, and all associated real and personal property located at 301 East Main in Starkville, to house and facilitate the operations of the Starkville Police Department. And after that, review and approval by the city attorney, for that to come back to the board for final action.
All right, and do you have it reduced to writing?
Almost.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Maynard. It's been reduced to writing. It's been submitted to the city clerk without objection. I will not ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir, I think this puts us in a position to hopefully move forward with this purchase.
Discussion. Alderman Walker.
Isn't so much discussion about this particular motion, but just to be clear, have we made a motion yet previously that is going to look at renovation costs where it, for any of these other things to fall through? We can't sell the lagoon, we don't sell this building. What is the renovation cost and what does that get us for this building? I would like to know, I would like to see an architectural plan and a cost for what it costs to renovate this building to get it up to meeting city police standards. Just so we can compare apples to apples as much as possible. Has that been, okay, I would.
You want to add that to this?
A separate motion.
Okay, let's vote on this.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. And Alderman Walker, before you make that motion, let me make one recommendation, and it be that that project begin after the final report on renovation costs of Cadence Bank are concluded. The architect has his hands full right now, and it will be a significant work product to look at this building. I don't want to stop the train on that building and delay it.
No problem. So I'd like to make a motion that we have an architect provide construction renovation costs for current City Hall to meet police needs as same renovations as they're looking at for the Cadence building. Once the Cadence building renovation renovation package has been complete.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Walker to direct the architect to put forward proposed renovation cost projections for the current City Hall building at 101 East Lampkin Street to serve as a future police headquarters upon the completion of the architect's final report on the proposed renovations for the Cadence Bank building at 301 East Main Street. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the minutes? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By a vote of 6 in favor with 1 against, this measure passes. Is there any further discussion on this matter? Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, the next matter that you have before you.
Mr. Mayor, can we
Yes.
take a little break?
We can. Without objection, we'll take a brief recess. Any objection? Any objection? Seeing none, we'll stand in recess.
I don't know.
All right, here we go.
Lose me. No.
Meeting will now come back to order. Next matter you have before you is discussion and consideration of accepting a letter of resignation from a member of the Parks Commission. Alderman Perkins.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, I move that the city accepts the letters of resignation recently received from Dan Moreland and Wendell Gibson, who are members of the Starkville Park Commission, with the resignations being effective as of December 31, 2014. It's reduced to writing, and a copy of each letter is attached to this motion.
All right, motion has been made by Alderman Perkins. It's been read, been reduced to writing. The copy's been submitted to the city clerk without objection. I want to ask for it to be reread. Seeing none, do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Perkins, do you wish to speak on the marriage?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter you have before you is the discussion and consideration of a resolution authorizing reimbursement to the municipality's general fund for certain expenditures.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of a resolution authorizing the reimbursement of the municipality's general fund for certain expenditures and related matters as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Alderman Perkins.
Mr. Attorney, just clear this up and explain this, because it, in the last whereas, I think it says something about, there'll be some substantive agreement about how certain funds are spent. Explain that, make that clear to the board.
Sure. By this resolution, the board is not committing to actually issue the TIF bonds in the Cotton Mill District and the TIF District. This is just putting the board in position to do that and to recoup its expenses in the process. It expressly says that the board will have the opportunity to take such actions as necessary to actually sell the bonds.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. I did get a second on that, didn't I? Yes. The next matter that you have before you is the discussion and consideration of advertising for vacant seats on Starkville boards and commissions. Discussion. Is there any discussion on this matter?
So moved.
You may.
This was Alderman Carver's item. She's had to step out. This is related to a recent resignation on the airport board, and they're requesting the ability to advertise that seat.
All right.
So move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And all those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the request for approval for Mike St. Louis and William Jellison to attend the Building Officials
So
Association.
move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of Mike St. Louis and William Jellison to attend the Building Officials Association of Mississippi Winter Training Event in Vicksburg, Mississippi, with advanced travel approved as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter that you have before you is a request for approval of RZ 14-07.
So move.
Motion has been, I'm sorry, this is a rezoning. I do need to ask for public comments. Is there anyone here that wishes to comment on RZ 14-07? That is a rezoning request by CAW Properties to rezone 4.06 acres at 903 Louisville Street from R6 mobile homes to R5 multifamily high density. I see we have the applicant here tonight. Applicant, is there anything that you wish to say about this?
No, sir.
All right, is there anyone that wishes to speak at all on this matter? Anyone that wishes to speak?
I'd just like to encourage all of y'all to maybe touch base with some of the apartment complexes around town and see what their occupancy rates are currently. And I'm sure Mr. Weeks has done his due diligence before he invests a lot of money in a new apartment complex. But while y'all are doing that, you might also look at the city of Ridgeland and what they are doing with apartment complexes. And this is an invariable thing that happens when newer facilities come on board. People migrate to those newer facilities, and you're left with areas that quickly become blighted, and the remedy can be difficult. So please educate yourself on that.
Thank you, Alderman Sistrunk. Is there anyone else wishing to comment on this matter? Anyone else wishing to comment? Anyone else wishing to comment? Seeing no one, a motion is now in order.
So move.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of RZ matter number 14-07, a rezoning request by CAW Properties to rezone 4.06 acres located at 903 Louisville Street from R6 mobile home to R5 multifamily high density to allow for construction of apartments as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, it is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
Yes, sir. I'm glad to see those manufactured homes go so that area can grow and look much better. Thank you so much.
Any further discussion? Any further? Alderman Maynard.
Just to address Alderman Sistrun's comment a minute ago. We reviewed several comprehensive planning groups yesterday, and each group that presented addressed the issue that you addressed as part of looking at the comprehensive plan. So I appreciate the comment, but that's something that I think this entire board will be educated on through that process.
Well, it's something that, it's just another of those many things that y'all are gonna have to deal with.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of VA. Motion has been made. Does that require a public hearing? Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of VA matter number 14-10. Dimensional variance requested by Ramsey Properties LLP for street width proposed for the new street at South Montgomery Street and south of the Claiborne at Adelaide Retirement Complex. The requested 11-foot variance is to allow for pedestrian crosswalks by using curb extensions as presented.
Second.
Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Little, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter
So
you have.
moved.
Hearing.
All
These
right.
two are hearings.
All right, this one, we will have to hear public comments, actually, both of the last two matters, which are conditional uses, prior to hearing a motion. Is there anyone here that would like to make comments on planning and zoning matter CU 14-06, conditional use request by Peters Rock Temple to add an addition to the existing church building located at 223 Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Drive West as presented? Is there anyone that would like to make comments on that? Anyone at this time that would like to make comments? Is there anyone that would like to make comments? Seeing no one.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of CU 14-06, conditional use request by Peters Rock Temple to add an addition to the existing church building located at 223 Martin Luther King Jr. Drive West as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Do I hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by, was it Walker or Little? Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discuss?
I just have one, and this is for Mr. Sanders. This being in the T5 zone, looking at the plan, the proposed expansion is to the west of the existing building, and then what is currently used for parking is being proposed to be new parking that's going to be to the west of that. Is it stated clearly in the conditions that they have to meet the requirements of the T district right there in terms of a screen and things that will be addressing the street right there in between the parking and the street?
The case that did go through the development review committee, and it was found by staff to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance.
Are they being?
With your question pertaining to conditions, the only
Well,
condition.
no, I would say not conditions, but what I'm looking at on the site plan, I don't believe that complies with the T5 zoning, not as what's showing on that plan, and I'm curious about that.
I would have to go back and review, but the parking lot is existing, while the addition is new. It's not completely, totally new redevelopment.
But it is going to require the addition of sidewalks, correct?
That would be correct.
Yes, so then that would also apply to the planting and other things that are there. It clearly states in there that if you're going to have parking that's going to be adjacent to the street, that you have to have a garden screen or a screen wall as part of the zoning. So it's not a condition, that's just part of the zoning. So I just wanted to make clear, I didn't see that, I don't see it addressed on the site plan, that will in fact be a part of what the expectations are for this redevelopment.
It's not on the site plan, no.
but it will be enforced because it's part of the zoning.
If the building cost or the addition is greater than 50% of the value, no, it would not be considered redevelopment.
Okay, say that again? So they're adding an expansion that is going to trigger the landscape, the sidewalk ordinance, all of those things. So my question is, I'm not sure if what I see on the site plan is in compliance. You're saying it's gone through the site plan, and I read the comments from there. But I think, we gotta just be consistent right there. If we're, for example, I don't see, no landscaping is shown on this site plan. It clearly says it's work in progress, not for construction.
No.
So if it's not listed specifically in the comments section of that, I'm assuming that means that it will still have to be enforced because that is the requirements of that zone.
Well, any requirement of the zone would have to be enforced.
That's what I'm asking, beyond what's listed right there. So as long as the applicant is clear of what their expectations are going to be, then I think that's my concern, because I didn't see it on the plan. If that had been communicated, the things that would be required.
And with regard to the landscape plan, that in the letter is the only thing that we are waiting on besides the approval of the board to move forward with the project.
Okay, thank you. That's my question.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. I'll now hear any comments anybody would like to make on P&Z matter number CU 14-07. Conditional use request by the Starkville School District to allow an addition to the existing cafeteria at Starkville High School located at 603 Yellow Jacket Drive. We've got a call for comments first. Are there any comments? Would anybody like to make comments on that matter? Would anybody like to make a comment? Would anybody like to make a comment? Seeing no one, Alderman Vaughn, do I hear a motion?
Yes, sir, so moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of CU 14-07, conditional use request by the Starkville School District to allow an addition to the existing cafeteria at Starkville High School located at 603 Yellow Jacket Drive as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter before you is a request for authorization for the electric department to enter into energy. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the Starkville Electric Department to enter into energy efficient demonstration project 2.0 agreement with TVA as requested per request from Mississippi State University as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter you have before you is request for approval to enter into an agreement with Energy Right Solutions for the home S-Score program, E-Score program. Discussion.
Mr. Kemp, is there any cost associated with entering into that agreement?
No, sir. And what this program is TVA working with distributors to modify the existing Energy Right program that we're currently on. This really provides better service at less cost and more efficiently. So this replaces a program that ends this end of this year.
Thank you, sir.
That's with all three of them?
Sorry?
That's with all three of them?
The same thing with the solar project. That was an improved modification to reduce overall cost associated with metering requirements on very small solar installations. But yes, sir, here again, it's refinement, making the program better, and helps us make, I guess, our needs for our customers.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I hear you, take your point.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve to enter into an agreement with Energy Right Solutions for the home E-Score program, turnkey hybrid as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization for Starkville Electric Department to enter. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize Starkville Electric Department to enter into a green power providers contract, TV dash 48326A, supplement number 78 with TVA. This agreement provides for changes in metering and billing requirements associated with the participants in the Green Power Providers Program as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the matter? Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for authorization to accept the lowest quote
So moved.
for, a motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to authorize the acceptance of the lowest quote for battery and charger at Starkville Primary Substation and Northeast Substation as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for authorization for Starkville Electric Department to enter into an agreement with TVA and Southwire to continue Southwire's. Motion's been made by Alderman Vaughn to authorize Starkville Electric Department to enter into an agreement with TVA and Southwire to continue Southwire's 5-minute response interruptible program. Southwire's initial term for our offer expired in November 2014. That would be as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the matter?
No.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval for the low quote from APAC to perform asphalt patch repairs.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Nguyen to approve of the low quote from APAC to perform asphalt patch repairs as presented. Alderman Nguyen, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Nguyen, you speak on the matter?
No.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the construction, engineering, and inspection contract for the Lynn Lane multi-use path and authorization for the mayor to execute the contract.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the construction, engineering, and inspection contract for the Lynn Lane multi-use path and authorization for the mayor to execute the contract as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is the request for approval of the Starkville claims docket. Discussion.
Mayor, may I recognize?
You may.
Mayor, I'd just like to say to the budget chair that if he can arrange a meeting of the budget committee sometime, hopefully before the next meeting of the second meeting in January, which is best for the schedule of the three of us, because I'm continuing to see some very extravagant expenses in this claims docket, and some that are, in my opinion, questionable. So I'd like for the committee to meet, and Mr. Chairman can arrange it, and maybe other matters you want to take up at your discretion, Mr. Chairman. But I just want to make that observation. You don't have to call it tonight, but whenever you look at your schedule and check Ms. Nguyen. Thank you, Mayor.
Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to approve of the City of Starkville claims docket for all departments, including the Starkville Electric Department, as of December 12, 2014, for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2015, as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second? Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Saying none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
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 By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, this measure passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval of the November 30th financial statements of the City of Starkville. Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the November 30th, 2014 financial statements of the City of Starkville as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second? Second. Motion has been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Maynard, you wish to speak on the merits. Any discussion, any discussion, any discussion? Saying none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on your agenda is a request for approval of the low bids for source of supply. Motion has been made by Alderman Little to approve of the low bids for source of supply for the city of Starkville for the period from January 1st, 2015 through December 31st, 2015. Alderman Little, is that your motion?
It is.
Do I hear a second? Motion has been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Little, he was to speak on the merit. Any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter you have before you is a request for approval of changes to the promotional policy for the fire department. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor and Board. The item I've got on the agenda tonight is requesting for approval of guidelines presented to you in the board pack. You may recall, we, the fire department, have been studying and researching this since an issue occurred in February of this year. A directive was given, and this is the end results of the long process. In March of this year, I asked for volunteers in our department to assist in the process. Out of 63 members of my department, 5 people were willing to tackle this difficult situation. Those 5 and myself made that review committee. The first thing that we looked at, we sat down and we wanted to identify areas that needed changing. We also discussed what each of us felt was essential in the quality promotional process. The consistent that I kept hearing was a fair, easy to follow process, one that would help motivate, one where no one could be awarded so many points in one area to where the other candidates could not catch him in the remaining categories. One that while it did not eliminate candidates, but it did allow a candidate who performed poorly to eliminate himself by simply dropping so far down the path that he could not catch up. But it also at the same time, we wanted a process that was not a gimme, you had to work for it. So as you can imagine, that sounds like the perfect system, and we all know that that's the perfect system's not out there. This process was long and extensive, a lot of time, and I wish I had the foresight to have kept up with the hours that we we committed to this. There was a lot of long hours that we spent, much like these board meetings. We sat till 10 o'clock some nights studying this and looking at it. But we looked at a large number of types, methods, and styles of systems. We troubleshot each one. We worked various scenarios. We tweak it or eliminate the process, and we move on to the next one. We did that until all the kinks was worked out, and essentially we wound up with what we've got. This all the while each committee member was seeking feedback from other department members. We feel in the end we have a neutral process where no one category can be the sole determining factor, and although attainable, you have to work hard to get the perfect score. The individual candidate is in complete control of his own destiny with this system. The process we're recommending tests the candidate in 4 areas, much like the old system. However, the scoring is different with this system. The areas that the candidates are tested and receive a score on are the physical fitness, territory, job knowledge, and you get your seniority points, just like the old system. Mayor and Board, the pros and cons, there are pros and cons to every job. The pros to firefighting are obvious. The cons to being a firefighter is the risk of injury or death, exposure to toxic fumes and intensive heat, working in unsound buildings and structures, working in hazardous chemical spills, cleaning them up, mitigating the situation, and even road conditions at automobile scenes presents a hazard to us from being run over by other vehicles. Fires are not predictable, they're in the future. They happen in the present. Fires are not predictable, they're not in the future, they happen in the present. And in order to be fully prepared, We simply must have a promotional system to promote the person who can make sound decisions, take quick actions, and do this during great times of stress, and be right when he makes his call. That's the type of promotional system that we feel like we have drawn up here. If we don't make those type of decisions, people get hurt. Our people get hurt, may get killed. So we have to be right. We have to know that we're promoting the right person. Speaking for the committee, we feel we have developed a good system. Is it the perfect system? Only time will tell. I will tell you, in my 32 years, I've never seen the perfect system, never heard of the perfect promotional system. We have a good system, but we need your support to put it in play. You've got what I call a cheat sheet that I put in the packet with you. We've done the studying, we've done the research. It's time for us to move forward. I sit here tonight respectfully requesting your approval of this agenda item so our department can move forward.
Questions or comments for Chief Mann? Alderman Little.
Chief Mann, now, did I understand you correctly? You advertised department-wide to form a committee, is that correct?
Yes.
And
Yes.
during this time, you only had 5 people come forward?
I asked them to, if they were interested, to write a letter, and I had 5 letters written.
Okay, and y'all worked on this process over how long?
I couldn't tell you. It was several months. We done a world of research. We done a world of discussion, and using some of the mayor's words, very spirited discussions. We looked at all kind of promotional packages.
So I take that to mean the 6 of you guys were not, I guess no one person got everything they would have liked. It was, I guess, a pretty democratic process, it sounds like.
That was one of the last things I asked the committee, and I tried to take a back seat in most of this. But that was one of the last things I asked this committee, was if you had to say, what percent did you get from day one, that when you walked in and said, here's what I want, to what we're getting now, what did you get? And the highest one was a 90. So nobody got exactly what they wanted. And again, that's the perfect system. And we all know the perfect system's not out there.
What's been the biggest deterrent, or the biggest, I'd say deterrent, or the biggest problem with the old system that you would say?
The old system was the rank applicable testing, what we could call the RAT, rank applicable testing. It was such a large volume of information that you was tested on. It was just simply, the test bank itself was just so enormous. It was overwhelming.
How often do y'all give those tests?
Only when there's a promotion spot, only when we're given permission to advertise.
Is there an opening right now?
There is.
And what position is that?
Battalion chief.
How long has it been open?
It's been open since November of 2013.
And when's the last time you gave a test? All right.
January of 2014.
Last January is the last time you had the test?
January of this year.
And how many sat for the test?
How many sat for the test?
How many took the test? The written test?
The written test, there was only one individual qualified at the time.
Okay. Now, have you not had anyone test recently?
No.
Since that point?
Not. We've tested new employees, for new employees recently.
They take the same test?
No, they take a totally different test.
Okay.
Alderman Walker.
Chief, I would just want to commend you and the committee for doing your due diligence and taking the board's directive and what was perceived as an issue, trying to update this policy manual and taking that and bringing it to a conclusion and bringing it to the board for us to make a decision on. I applaud you for working hard on that, especially when your time might be short here. I think this is an accomplishment that you felt like needed to happen, and your firefighters, I believe, agree that this needs to happen. And so I'm looking forward to supporting your recommended changes tonight.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I be recognized?
You may.
Chief, I got several things. I don't know when you're going to retire. I do know that you're eligible. I do recall us having a conversation one time where you were bemoaning the fact that when you started, the chief before you had just changed the personnel policy when you entered. Does that concern you at all in this case?
Not when it's a committee that done this. The committee reached this, and the committee was made up of people that are still gonna be here. The committee was made up of people that are gonna, this process applies to.
One of the other things this board has continuously tried to do since we took office 18 months ago is try to raise the standards and the application process for new positions as they come on. To me, it is a concern that we are taking the rank applicable test and taking the minimum score of 75 and basically changing that to a minimum score of 0. And that, to me, that's a step back. Why is that a good idea in this committee's opinion?
Because I can understand and see where you're coming from with that, Alderman Maynard, but it's your best and most promotable person is not always the book smart person. It's the person who can excel in other areas. Just like I said on the decision making, he's got to make the right decision, and it's not always your book smart person.
And I can appreciate that. I guess what concerns me is that a person with 10 years could make a 80 on the test, but a person with 20 years seniority could make a 53, 54, and they would still be more qualified for promotion because you get 2.5 points per full year of seniority.
Well, now, there's an interview process as the third step in there. And the interview is, you're going to be judged on how you perform.
And you feel the interview process is the differentiator in this whole process?
I wouldn't say it's the differentiator, but all of them play a very key role. I think the one that plays the least key role is seniority. But there again, we can't promote off of seniority alone.
If this were to pass tonight, what is the immediate effect on your department?
If you pass the items on the board packet as you have, where you are freezing the list, then it would be, a request would be made at a later date for permission to promote.
Permission to promote?
Yes.
Who?
Battalion
One-
chief. We have a battalion chief slot that has not been filled since November 13th.
Who is qualified right now to fill that position?
2 people are qualified now.
So would they go through this
They would go
process
through this process.
again?
Well, they would go through the process. Nobody's been through this process. But they would go through the promotional process. We went through the old promotional process in January.
So everybody, before anybody is promoted, they would all have to go back through this process.
Yes, sir. This is the promotional process. You've got to qualify to promote, and that means having X number of years in your present rank and having the required classes to be eligible to promote. But then after that, you enter into the promotional process.
So nobody's in the queue right now to be promoted. Everybody's going to start even going through this process.
No, sir. There's several people that are eligible to promote in all ranks in the fire department. The battalion chief rank is the rank immediately under myself. And then there are succeeding ranks. So if you move a captain up to battalion chief, then that captain slot is open.
Right.
And then the lieutenant slot is open.
I'm not being clear in my question. How come that position is vacant right now? How come it has not been filled?
Because we had a retirement of Kinsella Hampton in November of 2013. We advertised in January. We tested. An individual did not pass the test. He had a personal reason why he did not pass it, but we re-advertised in January. There was only one applicable, one person. It was the same one. He did not pass it again. He subsequently filed a grievance, and that's where we are here.
So taking that individual or any individual, based on these guidelines, he would automatically pass because we're eliminating minimum scores and the other things required.
That individual now has competition, since we have been waiting on this, there's other people have become eligible now.
So now everybody will be in contention for that.
Only have one battalion chief slot open.
Right.
Our department only has 3 captains, so therefore there's only 3 people that are that is applicable to. One individual does not have the minimum requirements to promote, so he can't promote regardless. So that only leaves us 2 other people.
So both of them going through this process would have to go through this process and be equally considered.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
May I recognize?
You may.
Chief, are you trying to accommodate someone with this proposed policy?
Absolutely not.
Isn't it true that you told the vice mayor, isn't it true that you told the vice mayor that you want to pass this proposed promotional policy to accommodate one individual in your department? Is that true or false?
I wanted to pass this and get this pushed through because I have a guy, here we are again with a man on the promotional list where it expires this Saturday. I have been trying to get this on the agenda since October for that very reason. And if that list is going to expire this Saturday. So it becomes very important that something be done to protect that person on that list. He has done everything that was asked of him to be done under the old system. He done everything that was asked of him. He has patiently sat and waited. And 8 months has passed by, 7 months has passed by, where he could do nothing.
Yes.
So there is, if we want to look at it like I'm trying to help a person, I'm trying to help that individual, yes. But that is the thing to do for me as a department head.
Okay, I have several questions. So at this point in time, that's your primary reason of wanting to get this proposal done?
If it doesn't go through, then yes, he will lose his opportunity to promote, and I feel like I have failed him at that point in time.
Now, Chief, I've got several questions here, and I'll announce to the mayor when I'm finished. So, we have a fire rating 5 at this time, is that correct?
No, sir, it's 4.
Fire rating 4,
Yes.
excuse me. And we worked real hard to achieve that. That's an outstanding rating, correct, Chief?
Yes, sir.
And that rating has been achieved with our current guidelines, is that right? Primarily.
Our promotional guidelines don't have anything to do with that, no, sir.
Okay, but as to the physical fitness, let's walk down through physical fitness. Right now, the guidelines, I say you must complete 1.5 miles in under 14 minutes or the candidate is disqualified. What is your rational basis for going to points assigned to times assigned to age group, points applied toward overall score? Seem like you're lowering the standards here. In other words, in your response, tell me how did you arrive at these proposed guidelines versus the former guidelines?
Alderman Perkins, that's exactly why we were sitting here in October, is the individual filed a grievance over that. And to be quite frank about it, I got beat up about that in here.
So are we responding, are you telling the board to modify these proposed guidelines just because
No,
a
sir,
grievance
I'm
was
not.
filed?
No, sir, I'm not. What I'm telling the board is I was given a directive in February to address this. And that's what I'm doing. I'm coming back. There's only one system out there that is a validated system as far as run and age related, and that's the military system. That's what that is. The only reason why there is a 1742 on there is that's what the military cut it off at.
Okay, let's go to the next category, territory. Right now, according to your guidelines, the candidates or officers are tested on 100 streets, and they must score 75 or higher or be eliminated. Let's first talk about the test on 100 streets. So on your proposed guidelines, we get 1 point per street. Wouldn't you agree with me, if you're gonna be a firefighter in this city, I mean, the more streets you know, I mean, the better you would be. In other words, when you think you'd be better off if we know 100 street versus 1 street, or 2 street or 4 streets, it seems like we're requiring less knowledge with regard to the guidelines that you're proposing.
No, sir. Alderman Perkins, I can assure you there's scores of people down there that get highly upset if they miss 1 street. But you can draw a blank. You can draw a blank. Those scores are going to be, they were very high in the beginning, and they're going to continue to be very high. They're not going to let you get 1 point more than I get. That's the competition that's down there.
Okay, but we got 5 categories, so we're still number 2. Let's ask this. Chief, you have been a very stickler on this requirement in the past. You must score 75 or higher or be eliminated. Now, points are applied to our overall score, no disqualification, so we're not adhering to the 75 score. I know you've had some officers in the past maybe who have scored 72 or 73 or 74, but now we want to drop this all of a sudden. It seems like in other words, if I'm in school, you know, I need to have, if I'm a teacher and or administrator, Chief, are you listening?
I am, yes, sir.
Okay, it seems like if we got a score and the higher the grade, we're promoting education as opposed to having less attention, less respect to education, because here, you want to drop your score with no disqualification. Explain that. Why should we accept that?
Because there again, there's the interview phase of it. If when you are interviewing and I see that you have not given enough time, we have dropped this down from 7 books, which was roughly about 5,600 pages of information. We've dropped it down to 3 books. So therefore, the scores are going to skyrocket. The scores are going to go up. And again, the competition levels down there. I don't think you realize the competition level that's down there in the sense of a person getting upset because he made a 99 on the street test and you made 100. That bothers him. And it's the same thing that's going to happen here. You're going to see these scores now are going to skyrocket, and they're all going to be up high.
One more question before we go to interview. Well, Chief, you know, competition is good. Would you agree? Because
absolutely,
if the scores are competitive, then it's going to make officers push much harder and harder. Then the more competitive they are, then the better officers you may get for your department, which will be better for the city of Starkville.
It's going to motivate them. Yes, sir, I do.
So therefore, then you have to agree with me. Then that if you have a score of 75 or higher, that'll be better for the city of Starkville to have a more educated workforce by not having a score as high as that when you eliminate the score and say no disqualification.
No, sir, when you make all the accumulative score, if you've scored a 50 and I've scored 100, then I'm 50 points ahead of you, obviously. So you've got to really scramble somewhere to catch me now. So where the motivation is for you to go tit for tat with me. If I score 100 in territory, you better score 100 or close, or I'm inching ahead of you. If I score 95 in the run and you score 96, then we're even there, and it just keeps on going. So there is motivation in this. It may appear that we're watering things down, but we're motivating people.
Next category, number 4, Chief, you say total points equated to 100-point grading scale, but here the total points equate to a 100-point grading scale, but high and low score drop to assure fairness. Explain that.
Okay. we're gonna have an interview panel. And one of the fairest ways that we can assure that you're not helping one person and you're not hurting one person is to drop the high and the low. That's been a consistent in the fire service for years. You drop the high and the low. So that takes that, me trying to help you, that takes it out. I didn't do any good because my score just went out.
Well, if I'm a firefighter and I come in and study real hard and, I genuinely want to be the best firefighter, I'm gonna work hard. I mean, if I want to be an accountant, if I want to be a barber, if I want to be whatever professional school teacher, and let's say in this case here, a fireman, if I study hard, try to make 100 on this grading score, and I don't have no low score, why should my grade so high and low score be dropped to assure fairness? When you think fairness will be assured, if everybody work hard and study hard and try to make their high grade,
Absolutely.
why drop a score?
Absolutely, because I'm trying to assure that there's a fairness level there. Everybody drops and loses the same. So I'm trying to assure fairness there. And that individual that you're referring to, that's there studying and working hard, he's being observed by those people that are on the interview board.
Well, Chief, and of course, we won't go to the next level. Just want to try to get this, 'cause I want to make sure we understand.
Yes.
But my question before I get down to seniority is, I don't see how there is any fairness, Chief, when you're going to take someone who has a high score, it may not even have a low score. Why? I think that we're penalizing a person if you want to drop part of the high score to help somebody out who didn't do as well. That's what you're trying to do. You're trying to help someone out, in my opinion, who's not able to score that high on the test. That's what is happening here, because we're going from 100-point grading scale to a high and low score drop to assure fairness. But I think fairness can be best achieved by hiring these firemen who can meet these very stringent criteria that we now have. Seems like we're lessening the standards.
Well,
do you agree or not agree with that?
I totally disagree with that on purpose, because that is not what we hire by. That's simply what we promote by. And we're having a very difficult time getting firemen today. We had 21 that we tested, and we got 2 out of the 21 because of the test that they have to take.
Well, and let's use police. I don't know anything about Chief Nichols' department. Let's take, we don't want no police officers who are going to be on the street who can't meet the proper standard. And Chief Nichols, just chose his department at random. I don't know anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
But we want to make sure we have the best and top officers out there. The same thing applied to firefighters and Mr. Devlin's department and every other department for our city. And just straight talk, Mr. Chief. We have to ensure that we have the most educated workforce out there. And we do that. That's what the taxpayers deserve. That's what the taxpayers demand. And it does not seem like we're achieving that. Let's go to the next category. Okay, the last category.
Perkins, can I address
Yes, sir.
that real quick, line? In the process of in the frame of what you're talking about, I think we would want street savvy people and people who could communicate would be an area where those people might be judged at too. If I was the one interviewing for some type of officer or something. So, and it's hard to test for that.
Okay, let's move on. Here,
Yes.
our last category here, and I'll make a couple of final comments. Okay, under your current system, seniority span is 1 point per full year work plus .0027 per completed day. And then you go here, the proposed guideline minus 2.5 points per year per full year work plus .0068 per completed day. How did you arrive at this percentage under this new guideline? And while we're changing it, and in your answer, it appears that we're getting away from seniority now.
No, sir. We're not getting away from seniority. Seniority's worth 2.5 times what it used to be worth.
How did you arrive at that decimal figure here?
That is when you divide 365 days into 1. That's what you come up with.
Okay, now, Chief, a few other questions. You mentioned that a promotional list. Did you? Why is it so important? What's the ingredients of that promotional list that you want frozen? The one that's back in December of 2013 through February of 2014. What's the?
Well, again.
Explain that to us. Why is that necessary?
We were here in February, and a directive was given, and I'm trying to finish out that directive and get this cleared up, and to where I can move on. But I don't want to leave things hanging out. And plus, I have an individual that I'm responsible for on that list. I'm pushing that promotional list, and I have a person on that promotional list. So if I've got an individual on it, it is my job responsibility as department head to do what's right for him.
Right. Chief, one last question, I'll make some comments. Now, you say you don't want to leave things hanging out. What do you mean by that?
Well, at some point in time, I'm gonna be retiring. I don't know, you know, I don't think that's quite the way that this should come out, and all. But I mean, y'all all know, y'all have known since October 7th. And, you know, I wanted this to come about at a little bit different setting than this. I didn't want it to be about 32 and a half years retiring in a setting like this, but apparently it is. So I think after 32 and a half years, I deserve a little bit better than that.
May I yield the floor?
Mr. Mayor,
Alderman Little.
so you've been with the fire department 32 years?
I've been on the fire department 32 and a half years.
How long have you been chief, acting chief?
I've been chief for 7 years.
I don't know that any of us can't speak for everyone. I know I've never been a fireman, and I think you did a very democratic process with choosing or allowing anyone that chose to sit on the committee to participate. And you had 5 step forward and took input from your peers.
Yes.
And I bump into these folks pretty regularly. And Jerome, at the Wellness Center, I think I saw him Sunday. But I ask them, kind of, you know, I don't know them all, but I know their faces, and I kind of ask them, hey, you know, what do you think about the promotional guidelines? Because they all talk about it. They know this has been out there. I didn't have one that said they really liked it. But I said, let me ask you this. Is it better than what you got? And every one of them said yes. And if I recall talking with you a while back, I think most everyone on the committee didn't like every aspect of it. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be better than what we have, and we're going to be able to promote, which this affects these people's pocketbook, because with the raise, am I wrong, comes a promotion. I mean, with a promotion comes a raise.
That's correct.
And it's a trickle-down effect. Those other folks behind anyone that's pending now, and I don't know, I don't see it as you're trying to help one person in particular. If we choose tonight to vote on this, to extend it out 6 months, you know, I don't know, to show that we're not trying to single out any individual. I hate for us as a board to try to dictate a fire department's training procedures, and y'all look like you've done your homework. You've got military guidelines on your physical fitness. I don't think anyone's going to want to be slacking on the testing portion of it, because they're going to get beat.
The competition is going to drive.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we adopt the changes as presented in the promotional policy. And do I need to, you know, does each one of these need to be a separate motion?
You can do it as presented. It'll
As
encompass everything in
written?
the packet. Yep.
And if anyone's got an issue as far as the list, you know, I'm open to a friendly amendment. I would hate to see, who is the person that's,
Can I think I need to apologize to Sergeant Clark. I did not realize he was sitting in the room. I thought he was across the hall.
is he the one?
He is the one.
Did not realize that.
I didn't realize he was in here.
When I spoke to you the other day, I did not know that either.
And
Small
also,
world.
could I add in this too, tagging off what you just said? I put in the board package that 90% of the department agreed with this. It's probably much, much higher than that. But there's always gonna be some in there that's not gonna agree. Did I go around and ask every one of them? No.
I spoke with probably a dozen or so, and maybe some of your peers told you that I was quizzing some of them from various departments as I run into them, or stations.
I'm glad you did.
And I spoke with one today, and that's what my first time to speak with him, and he actually sat on the committee. And like I said, he didn't maybe agree with everything, or like every aspect, but overall, as a whole, he thought it was a better product, and I think the whole department would like to see us move forward with it.
Yes.
Do you have a motion?
I did, as presented at the bottom.
Motion
I
has
can read it
been
if
made
you'd like.
by Alderman Little to approve of the changes to the promotional policy for the fire department as presented. Alderman Little, is that your motion? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Walker. Alderman Little, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No, sir.
Chief, let me just say thank you for what you've done with this. Of course, it was the board that directed you to bring back the changes to the promotional policy in February. I appreciate that you took that charge seriously. I appreciate that you did not merely go about the process as the chief of the fire department, but you involved your department broadly. And I believe you brought back a great product. Now, certainly, there will be opportunities to disagree with aspects of the promotional program. There's just no way to design a criteria and not have reasonable minds that disagree as to the value that you were giving some factors. But what is most significant to me is that you offered all of your department an opportunity to participate in the process. You had several members that actually drove the process, and I think for that reason, above all others, this is a promotional process that will be respected by the men who serve the fire department. And for that reason, I recommend the board adopt it. Further discussion?
I have one question. I don't mean to beat this up, Chief. Can you explain to me the person that is on the promotional list right now? There's one individual.
Yes.
What advantage does that person have if we pass this tonight?
He was placed, we tested in December of last year.
Right.
He did everything that was required of him. He went on the promotional list. He has sat patiently on that promotional list, even though everything has been shut down.
He can't move because...
He can't move because we can't get he's going for lieutenant. I don't have a vacant lieutenant slot until I fill the battalion chief slot.
So, even though he is on the list now and the list expires Saturday, for everybody else that qualifies, they're gonna go through all of this process prior to Saturday so that a position...
Absolutely, no, sir. No, sir. No, sir. It's the list. That's the reason why there's 3 items on the on your agenda item. Is all 3 of those have to happen for this to work.
So we're saying we want to freeze his position until, you think you can get it done in a month, by February? I mean, that's
Yes,
what
sir.
I'm reading this.
It can be easily done. This promotional process can be easily done after the 10-day advertising window by state or federal law. It can easily be done in a week or so.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman Ball.
I have a couple questions. You said earlier that this gonna free up an opening for a battalion chief. Now, that's what you told us earlier. Now you said it just for one position. You said earlier this is gonna open up for battalion chief and somebody. But second question, Fire Station 5 is over there. Why we can't place him at Fire Station 5? You say it's not open. You got. Let me get through. You say there's no place for him at Fire Station 5. You got a sergeant at Fire Station 5 and 2 firefighters at Fire Station 5. He a lieutenant.
No, sir.
He'll be a lieutenant, right?
He will be, once we promote, he will be the next lieutenant, yes. Y'all did not give me a lieutenant slot for Fire Station 5. I can't make him a lieutenant at Station 5 because it's not in the budget.
Do he qualify? Do he qualify to be, haven't he passed the test to be a lieutenant?
He is on the promotional list to be promoted to lieutenant at the next opening. There is not an opening currently.
Fire Station 5 is open.
There is not a lieutenant.
You got a
slot
sergeant
at
there,
Fire
you got a
Station
sergeant,
5.
you got a sergeant, 2 firefighters.
That's right,
So-
not a lieutenant.
So, what, move the sergeant, put the lieutenant there. Or move one of the firefighters, put the lieutenant, the sergeant, and 1 firefighter.
Alderman Vaughn, if I might interject, the board has to create that lieutenant position.
Why hadn't the board created it? That's what we need to do, create the position, and then we want to worry about the promotion. If that's what you're trying to do, create the position to put this lieutenant where he's supposed to be.
Can I ask, I have asked for that position in previous budgets.
Well, you won't need the promotion. If we create the position, you won't need the promotion.
That's correct.
I'll make a motion that we create the position for.
Hold on, we got a motion pending, unless you want to make it as an amendment to.
We're making this hard. We're making this hard. This is too hard. We're making it too hard. We've been here 45 minutes. And all we got to do is make an opening for the man to go into position, because you got a position at Fire Station 5. We've been 45 minutes doing this. That's not hard. That's just simple. All we got to do is make the motion, put him in the position where he goes.
Any further discussion?
Ooh.
Any
That
further
was all
discussion?
night long.
Any further discussion? And to be clear, as presented is everything in your packet. So that includes staff recommendations 1, 2, and 3. And those staff recommendations are the adoption of the fire department promotional policy, the request for authorization for the personnel officer to proceed to advertise to fill the vacant position of battalion chief position and subsequent vacancies as a result of this promotion, and to approve the freezing of the promotional list created in December 2013 until the promotional guideline process is approved and promotions affected by the freezing are approved. So Alderman Little, that was included in your motion, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further? All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, please answer yay, nay, or abstain as the city clerk calls your name.
Alderman Nguyen.
Yay.
Alderman Little.
Yay.
Alderman Walker.
Yay.
Alderman Maynard.
Yay.
Alderman Perkins.
Nay.
Alderman Bond.
Nay.
By a vote of 4 in favor, 2 against. By a vote of 4 in favor with 2 against, the motion is approved. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, may I be recognized? Thank you so much for the work that you and your committee put forward toward this. Thank you so much.
All that time for that.
Alderman Nguyen, you were a yay vote on
Yes.
that, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. All right, the next matter before you is a request for authorization to hire Nathan Neff and Patrick Warner to fill vacant positions for firefighters in the fire department. Discussion.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Walker to authorize the hire of Nathan D. Neff and Patrick S. Warner to fill the vacant positions of firefighter in the fire department as presented. Alderman Walker, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Walker, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
By a vote of 5 in favor with 1 against, this measure passes. The next matter before you is a request for approval of the advancement of apprentice lineman. Motion has been made by Alderman Maynard to approve of the advancement of apprentice lineman Bobby Gilliland and Joel Murphy from apprentice lineman level 1 to apprentice lineman level 2 in the electric department with annual salary of $38,000, $18.27 per hour as presented. Alderman Maynard, is that your motion?
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Maynard, do you wish to speak on the merits?
No.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter that
So
you have
moved.
before, motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to authorize the hire of an intern to work with the electric department during the spring semester, working no more than 20 hours per week as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second? Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Discussion, Alderman Perkins.
Just one question. Mr. Kemp, just a question, and I'm not against it. Could you stand up, please, sir? And a question here, just for informational purposes, and not against this, but back in April of this year, around April the 15th, you hired an intern to do some work over in your department, and I know earlier about that time in April, you had 2 employees who took over the work from Ms. Katie Gint, who was the accountant, and you split their duties out, and each one of them got a 10% increase in pay. And my question is what will this intern have to do in light of what I just told you, and how long are you gonna need this intern? Because I thought that we had, with the other intern we had, that you had back in April 15th thereabout, and also with the other 2 employees who I thought were able to do the work that Ms. Gint had, and I'm just trying to see where this intern fits in at.
No, excellent question. I appreciate it. Let me say that the organization we did, those individuals are performing extremely well. We are shifting work, just like we talked to the board about. I think what I was looking at is we move forward with AMI deployment, which is going to be in kind of a new arena. We see a continued need to develop and really work on some specialized approach that relates to what I can call account management or packages, things that we've not done in the past. And it allowed us to maybe look to the universities to develop a relationship to really bring a skill set in for a minimum amount of time. You know, we talk about less than 20 hours, but that individual will probably be looking at how you deal with landlords to improve our communication paths. They could really unload some of our management staff as we continue to move down the path. So I think it's a combination of things. They will actually be productive with assigned tasks. They will also give us more opportunities to kind of improve our overall customer service to our customer base.
And so with this intern, you think you'll be where you need to be? Because this intern will be for the spring semester, just from January to May of 2015?
That's what we were targeting, and hopefully we would get someone, at least maybe the senior, possibly even someone doing some graduate work that might be available during that period of time.
Thank you, Mr. Kemp. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Further discussion, do I have a motion?
Yes, sir. Motion second.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request, a motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of allowing Chief Frank Nichols to attend the new chief training in Ridgeland, January 19th through 22nd, 2015, with advanced travel approved. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for
So
approval. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the mayor executing a professional services contract with Stewart Stafford for primary appraisal services for the Southwest Starkville CDBG sewer project as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, do you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. That clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for approval. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve the mayor executing a professional services contract with Ken Nixon for review appraisal services for the Southwest Starkville CDBG sewer project. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Maynard. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda is request for approval to purchase. Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the purchase of a replacement shaft for Rotom 1 at the wastewater treatment plant from the original equipment manufacturer in the amount of $5,520 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, you speak on the matter.
No, sir.
Any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes. Next matter on the agenda.
So moved.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of the issuance of a notice to proceed to Groundstone for the construction, the submittal of the lowest quote for replacing concrete drainage structure on Old West Point Road in the amount of $8,780 as presented. Alderman Vaughn, is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Alderman Vaughn, do you speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Motion conceded, we need to go in executive session.
Hold on, we got one more.
Got one more?
And that motion passes. The next matter on the agenda is a request for approval to declare items as surplus property advertised
So
for sale.
moved.
The motion's been made by Alderman Vaughn to approve of declaring items as surplus property advertised for sale and sell to the highest bidders as presented. Alderman Vaughn, says your motion.
That's the motion.
Do I hear a second? Motion's been seconded by Alderman Little. Alderman Vaughn, you wish to speak on the matter?
No, sir.
Any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor? Alderman Mayor.
You want to buy one?
There is there's a truck on there, and it says the only thing wrong with that truck is it needs $3,500 in repair. My question is, Miss Gandy, do you need that truck for $3,500 since we're missing a truck? Before we put it on surplus, is there, because it was an old landscape truck that, and if we need to replace it, we don't have the money to buy a brand new one. If we can fix that one for $3,500 before we surplus it out, that's my question.
We could definitely use any that we fix.
I make the motion that we remove, a friendly amendment to remove the truck from that process until we determine that.
Second.
Proposed friendly amendment. Who has the motion? Alderman Vaughn, do you yield to a friendly amendment
Yes, I do.
to remove
Yes, sir.
the truck from the Water and Sewer Department or Public Services Department needing repairs for $3,500 from the surplus property list?
Yes, sir.
All right, with the approval of Alderman Vaughn without objection from
And
the
to
board.
transfer it to sanitation.
And to transfer it to the Sanitation and Environmental Services Department.
Yes, sir.
All right, without objection, that becomes a part of the motion. Any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Measure clearly passes.
I'll make a motion, go in closed session, see that we need to go in executive session.
Motion has been made by Alderman Vaughn to go into closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion's been seconded by Alderman Nguyen. Any discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The board has approved a motion to go into closed session to determine whether there is a need for an executive session. I'll now ask that everybody exit the room so that the board can begin closed session deliberations. While the room is turning over without objection, I'm going to take us into a brief recess. Any objection?